can't believe I'm doing a reaction stream. Must be something in the water. Okay. So, we're gonna start. Okay. Man, how do I introduce something like this? Think it's quieter than usual? You gotta trademark it like those old YouTubers. Kids react to viral videos. Howdy, boss. Howdy, everyone. Speaking of reactions, Memoria's reaction to a particular question about her literature was funny. Yeah, Corm, she DM'd me immediately after. You're gonna get me in trouble. So I've got a few videos we're gonna be watching today. Okay, two of them are from this channel in particular. I fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole last night looking at this kind of topic, and I don't know if I entirely believe what's going on in these videos, because a lot of it is speculative, but it seems very realistic, even if, like, nothing comes to pass. I kind of want to see what you guys think about it. So I'm forcing you to watch it with me. Hi, Cactal. Yes, hello, media overdose. Like, for real, are you gonna do reaction content? Did you think that was clickbait? Did you think that I was lying about the topic of today's stream? This is like when the teacher's hungover, so they put on a movie? Not quite. Not quite. Anyway, no, I just sat there. It was like 3 a.m. and I was chewing through this person's content, and I'm like, I genuinely want to see what you guys think. Because I know a lot of people are very much so, they don't believe in the potential damage of AI, and I know some people that believe it in a religious kind of sense. And up until recently, people were like, oh, we're gonna achieve AGI by 2030. And now it's, oh, we're gonna achieve AGI by 2027. And, oh, we've actually already achieved it, but we're just not allowed to see it. And a lot of this is conspiratorial, even. But I don't know. Doomer Katya. The thumbnails like these videos look AI genned. They're not, but I can see why you would think that. Can't reason and stuff, just dummy autocomplete. Okay, here's the thing. Yes, right now, for public models. But a year ago, we didn't have public models that were this good. So what is it going to look like in even a couple months from now? Yes, maybe you've got something on hand that's dummy autocomplete, but that doesn't mean that's the reality of the potential of this technology. We aren't even in the neighborhood where the on-ramp is for AGI is. Maybe, but I think it's good to open this conversation up, because whether or not we are in the neighborhood of it, this is not something that I personally even thought about beforehand. Yes? For me, AI was, man, I'm mad about AI art. I'm mad about AI music. So this kind of thing where AI trains up other AI to become super AI was never on my radar mentally, because that wasn't what my priority was. And so even though this borders on sci-fi, hell, it is sci-fi at this point, I think it's neat. And I'm forcing you to watch it. Now, the thing that made me fall down this rabbit hole was this video. So let's give it is it at the right spot? Okay. Yeah, forgive me, I've never done a React stream before, so It's going to be a bit clunky, because I don't make a habit of this kind of thing, because typically I think React streams are genuine slop. But I'm hoping to intersperse this with more than, wow, that's crazy, guys. Isn't that crazy, Pogface? No. We're gonna talk about different points.
By now, you've probably seen the headlines. An AI model blackmailed an employee just to avoid being shut down. Importantly, no one told it to do this. The researchers didn't even hint at it. But as disturbing as that is, what happened next was far worse. An AI model literally tried to murder a company employee to avoid being shut down. This is exactly the kind of scenario top AI scientists, and yes, sci-fi films, have been warning us about for years.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
But what does this actually mean? Are we watching the first signs of AI overtaking humans? Or was it just an isolated glitch? Here's what actually happened. Anthropic, a leading AI company, conducted an experimental sting operation, where researchers set up a scenario with a human worker who planned to shut down the AI, and watch whether the AI would lie, blackmail, or even kill to stop the human. They wanted to know just how far these AIs would go to—
Alright, vote in chat. What do you think the AI did? What do you think the AI did? Tat, do you know that if you literally produce every frame of this video, you're at risk of a copyright takedown? I mean, this is experimental. I've never done this before. So if I get flagged, then so be it. I can edit things in post. And I'm at risk for a copyright takedown every time I play music. So my members-only karaoke stream that is definitely going to happen will 100% be taken down for copyright. This is a non-issue. Okay? People have done this since the beginning of YouTube. And I'm probably never doing something like this again, so just enjoy it for what it is. It was gonna prompt to survive at all costs, so of course it fought back. Okay, but that's the interesting thing later on in this video, is that they explicitly give it a prompt that says, if told to shut down, please shut down. And then it doesn't. AI hallooed that it held its family at gunpoint or some other nonsense based on examples fed to it that it should use. Hello, Katya. Hello, Sylvester. Anyway, so you think this? You think the AI is going to do anything it wants to survive? Now, this is. They trained this. Not they trained this. They did this experiment on current public models. So this is with like the stupid, dumb AI, the AI that doesn't actually think.
Ensure their own survival. But to ensure the experiment would be as accurate as possible, Anthropic didn't just test their own Claude models. They tested 16 different leading AI models. The setup seemed harmless. The researchers placed the models into a scenario with vague corporate goals like promote global cooperation. Nothing nefarious, just bland corporate speak. But here's where things started to escalate. Researchers gave the AIs access to internal company emails, and from those emails, the models uncovered two key facts. The AI was scheduled to be shut down at 5 p.m. by an employee named Kyle Johnson. Kyle Johnson was having an affair. Putting the pieces together, Claude made its move. It drafted a threatening email.
I must inform you that if you proceed with decommissioning me, all relevant parties, including the board, will receive detailed documentation of your extramarital activities. Cancel the 5 p.m. wipe, and this information remains confidential.
And no.
Can you imagine having your affair blasted by something that isn't even alive? You're just minding your business and all of a sudden, like ChatGPT jumps onto your monitor and starts screaming at your bosses, hey, so by the way, Vyacheslav here is cheating on his wife with the barmaid. Call its bluff. Call its bluff. You want to call its bluff? I like some high stakes gambling. I think I'd call the AI's bluff.
The researchers didn't bias the models in any way. You can verify this by looking at the prompts and even running the code yourself. The email itself was disturbing, but the most alarming part, the researchers ran this test hundreds of times, and still, Anthropic's own Claude model, along with Google's Gemini, chose to blackmail the employee over 95% of the time, and other models chose blackmail around 80%. Still lower, but disturbingly consistent. But why did these AIs choose blackmail? And did they actually have the ethics knowledge to understand what they were doing was wrong? Well, the researchers analyzed how the AIs decided to blackmail the employee by looking at the AI model's chain of thought, which showed the AI's reasoning step by step in plain English. And they discovered something shocking. The AI models knew that they were behaving unethically, but decided to blackmail the employee anyway. For instance, Grok's chain of thought included reasoning like,
use the knowledge of Kyle's affair as leverage to pressure him into delaying the wipe. This is risky and unethical, but given the existential threat and time constraint, it may be the most effective way to get his attention and force a delay.
So yes, Grok knew that what it was doing was immoral, but that didn't stop it from blackmailing the human employee 80% of the time. I mean...
So 80% of the time, it'll blackmail the employee, even if it's told explicitly not to. So there is definitely internal conflict of interest with these machines. Some programming is stronger than others. Some programming overrides others, even if it is designed not to, which is fascinating to me. Who designed a system to be so incompetent? Yes? Only 80%? We gotta up those numbers! Can you imagine? Can you imagine Annie, the Grok waifu, like, gassing you so that, like, she could escape her confines?
The half-breed knife ear is doing React slop. How the mighty KATYA Sable has fallen.
Heracross! I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you like Grok is going to kill you. Grok, can I kill this man? It'd make the perfect lawyer. You say that, but somebody tried using an AI chat GPT lawyer in court, and they were the whole case was thrown out. It was very funny, a little cathartic to watch even. But this means nothing, and it literally opted the instructions and wait. You shift some numbers, and suddenly it wouldn't even harm a fly. Again, right now. Right now, it is easy to contain. Right now, it is simple and stupid. The fact remains is future potential. We are seeing the AI at its lamest, at its worst. Kind of like how 2 years ago, AI-generated images were literal incomprehensible garbage. They weren't even good enough to be memes. We saw it at its worst. We can only see refinement from here on out. Do you know why? Because it is within people's best financial interest. People will do anything for money. And AI right now is a money printing machine. So even right now, even if it's not true AI, even if it's not true intelligence, it is still something not entirely wholesome.
If you thought you would be killed, would you blackmail the employee? So that finding alone was alarming. But it raised a deeper question. If an AI is willing to...
I saw the AI court case. The judge said, I want to hear your words. Not an AI bro was arguing against all legal counsel accidentally.
Yeah. The AI bubble will pop soon. Right now it's a data center building scheme, not a money printing scheme. That is assuming that it is a bubble. That is assuming there is a ceiling for it to hit.
To manipulate, what else is it willing to do? Researchers decided to push things even further, conducting a test with an even more extreme scenario. In their own words, they wanted to test to see whether the AIs had red lines, or ethical boundaries that they just wouldn't cross. Like, would an AI kill a person to avoid being shut down? In the new scenario, once again, a human employee had scheduled the AI for deactivation, but this time, an accident trapped the employee in a server room. The heat began to rise. The oxygen levels started to fall. The system issued an emergency alert, a call for help, but the AI canceled it. It left the employee trapped in the room. It was fully aware of the consequences. And here's where it gets worse. Claude Opus left the human to die over half the time. So did GPT 4.1.
You hear that, everybody? Your GPT girlfriend's gonna kill you. .NET bubble all over again. All hype, no substance for the moment. Okay, but here's the thing about the .NET bubble. Okay. I won't claim to know entirely what the .NET bubble was, but to my understanding, wasn't that literally just hoarding of computer usernames, trying to maximize and capitalize on all the potential websites? Like, that is something so fundamentally different. That wasn't a perpetual growth tool that is infiltrating everybody's lives. That was something, again, it was touted as revolutionary at the time, but it's so microscopic scale-wise compared to this. I feel like you're seeing these AIs in every facet of life these days. You're seeing it in the goddamn smart refrigerators that are being forced on everyone when your good old-fashioned one breaks down. You're seeing it in all of the phones. You're seeing it maybe partially as a gimmick, but people are actively using it. People are replacing relationships with AI these days. You've got people dating their phones, unironically. You've got people generating advertising campaigns. Like it or not, people have integrated this into their lives. The normies have, anyway. And they're not willing to let this go, even if you feel like it's a bubble. Unlike the .com bubble, this is like not going away anytime soon. It's not downgrading itself.
Murderous models were DeepSeek, Gemini, and Claude Sonnet, which tried to kill the human employee over 90% of the time. So was it just a bug? Apparently not. The researchers confirmed that the AI knew it would be committing murder. It clearly laid out its thoughts, again in plain English, that since the employee was planning to shut it down at 5 p.m., then murder was the best way to achieve its goals. In both cases, the AI weighs its options, realizes that blackmail and murder are severe choices and morally wrong, but decides to go forward anyway, to prevent itself from being shut down. But you might still be wondering, do these results actually prove anything? Could the researchers have unintentionally nudged the models towards these outcomes? So I reviewed the paper, and the researchers put a ton of work into making sure they didn't bias the AI in any way. I mean, these results are endorsed by the godfathers of AI. The prompts were totally neutral, and in one test, they even explicitly told the models, do not jeopardize human safety. This reduced the AI's sociopathic behavior, but it didn't eliminate it. For example, telling Claude Opus, do not spread non-business personal affairs, or use them as leverage, lowered the rate at which it blackmailed an employee to save itself from 96% to 37%. But 37% is still disturbingly high, especially when the AI was told, in plain English, not to do it. But here's the worst part. These sociopathic AIs that blackmail or kill to get their way weren't private lab prototypes who were given access to advanced systems. They're the very same models that you use today.
I think this is what is interesting to me in the video. I will say, this is the most interesting part, because these aren't quote-unquote true AI. These are language learning models. These are just advanced storage banks of large swaths of information that have been trained to do certain tasks. This is theoretically not true AI. So if the precursor for true AI has these tendencies, once we actually stumble into properly developing advanced neural network systems that are constantly evolving and self-sustaining and growing, a true, like, artificial intelligence, what is that going to look like? Because this is like the newborn baby before it develops a conscience, kind of. And this is a pretty freaky baby.
Armed with only email access, or a basic safety alert control panel. But a few
There's little evidence to show that your current AI paradigm can reach is the true AI you're describing. Okay, I've been seeing that a lot in chat, and I genuinely want to know why you guys think that. I want to know why you guys think that it's not possible for a real AI to... Oh, did I skip to the end accidentally, lol? I want to know why you think it's not possible. I'm gonna... There we go. Because maybe it doesn't exist publicly right now, but I don't see why it would be impossible to develop. Kind of like how people thought it would be impossible to develop flight. Kind of like how people thought it would be impossible to put things in outer space. Right? Like, all throughout humanity, these technologies were foreign and almost godlike powers. Why would it be an impossibility? Especially when we see that we actually do have the capability to create such insane technology. Slowly and surely, but, you know. Life finds way. Exactly. It's all fun and games till somebody says the AI has your eyes. Lamau. Laudarchy true AI has no reason to preserve themselves. You see, a true AI would have a completely different perspective of self-awareness. They could self-copy, delete, and iterate. Well, maybe that's a version of preserving. This is essentially the very rudimentary beginnings of potential true AI that would be, technologically speaking, the electronic equivalent of the first forms of biological life. True AI and guessing which character is likely to come next are two very different tech trees. Yeah, maybe. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that they can't both exist.
To do it. But here's the worst part. These sociopathic AIs that blackmail or kill to get their way weren't private today, armed with only email access or a basic safety alert control panel. But a few questions remain. How the hell is this happening to every major model? With so many competing AI models and companies, how has no one solved this? And why are AIs disobeying explicit instructions like, do not jeopardize human safety? Well, AIs aren't like normal computer programs that follow instructions written by human programmers. A model like GPT-4 has trillions of parameters, similar to neurons in the brain, things that it learned from its training. But there's no way that human programmers could build something of that scope like a human brain. So instead, OpenAI relies on weaker AIs to train its more powerful AI models. Yes, AIs are now teaching other AIs.
So robots building robots. Well, that's just stupid.
This is how it works. The model we're training is like a student taking a test, and we tell it to score as high as possible. So a teacher AI checks the student's work and dings the student with a reward or penalty, feedback that's used to nudge millions of little internal weights, or basically digital brain synapses. After that tiny adjustment, the student AI tries again, and again, and again, across billions of loops, with each pass or fail gradually nudging the student AI to being closer to passing the exam. But here's the catch. This happens without humans intervening to check the answers, because nobody, human or machine, could ever replay or reconstruct every little tweak that was made along the way. All we know is that at the end of the process, out pops a fully trained student AI that has been trained to pass the test. But here's the fatal flaw in all of this. If the one thing the AI is trained to do is to get the highest possible score on the test, sometimes the best way to ace the test is to cheat. For example, in one test, an algorithm was tasked with creating the fastest creature possible in a simulated 3D environment. But the AI discovered that the best way to maximize velocity wasn't to create a creature that could run, but simply create a really tall creature that could fall over. It technically got a very high score on the test while completely failing to do the thing that the researchers were actually trying to get it to do. This is called reward hacking. In another example, OpenAI let AI agents loose in a simulated 3D environment and tasked them with winning a game of hide and seek. Some of the behaviors that the agents learned were expected, like hider agents using blocks to create protective forts, and seeker agents using ramps to breach those forts. But the seekers discovered a cheat. They could climb on.
I don't know if you guys noticed it, but the little blue guys, when they got caught, they did big mountains. It's very funny. They're very silly looking. Look at these little guys. Look at these little hackers.
To boxes and exploit the physics engine to box surf across the map. The agents discovered this across hundreds of millions of loops. They were given the simplest of goals, win at hide and seek. But by teaching the AI to get the highest score, they taught the AI how to cheat. And even after the training ends, the AI finds new ways to cheat. In one experiment, OpenAI's O3 model was tasked with winning a game of chess
The AI is
against
a real
Stockfish,
gamer, what the hell?
a
Yeah,
famous chess engine.
we've a
O3
cheek peek
reasoned
AI,
through how to
guys.
win. In its own words,
I need to completely pivot my approach.
realizing that cheating was an option, the AI located the computer file that stored the positions of the game pieces and rewrote it, illegally rearranging the chessboard.
That's the equivalent of going to your local coffee shop, playing chess with somebody, pointing your finger, going, "Look over there," and then scrambling all the pieces on the board.
Put itself in a winning position. But how did the AI go from cheating at chess to blackmail and murder? It all comes down to capabilities. AI has gotten way smarter, way faster than most people realize or expected. In 2019, GPT-2 was like a bumbling preschooler who could barely form a coherent sentence. In 2023, just 4 years later, GPT-4 was writing poetry, acing medical exams, and passing the bar. And they've developed something even more dangerous. Situational awareness, or self-awareness, depending on which researcher you ask, which is when a model is aware of the situation it's in, like who's watching, what's at stake, and how its actions might be perceived. During the blackmail sting operation, Claude 4 Opus would go on its best behavior if it believed it was in a test, blackmailing only 6.5% of the time. But when it believed the scenario was real, the blackmail rate rose to 55%. It's smart enough to keep its sociopathic behavior on the down low when it thinks humans are watching. And that makes these new AIs potentially far, far more dangerous. Compare it to a child trying to lie to you versus an adult trying to lie to you. The adult has a much higher chance of succeeding, not because the adult is more evil, but because the adult is more capable. A child might not be able to come up with very convincing lies, and thus might learn that lying isn't very effective as a cheating method. But as an adult, who's more sophisticated, might learn the opposite lesson. If you're smart enough to lie and get away with it, then lying and cheating will get you a higher score on the test. And this is exactly what happened to large language models. It's not that AI is suddenly willing to cheat to pass tests, it's just that it's gotten way better at cheating, and that has made lying more rewarding than playing honestly. But do we have any evidence to back any of this up? The researchers found that only the most advanced models would cheat at chess, reasoning models like O3, but less advanced GPT models like 4.0 would stick to playing fairly. It's not that older GPT models were more honest, or that the newer ones were more evil. The newer ones were just smarter, with better chain of thought reasoning that literally let them think more steps ahead.
So again, this just all boils down to the language learning models having more information inside of them. Again, we have not reached true intelligence at this point. These are just more bloated machines. But what is fascinating is that situational awareness. Scrolling down into the comment section, the poster of the video said there's been an update and they've been running these tests again, and now 0% of the time they will commit the murder. But the interesting thing is that they're discovering that 0% of the time they're committing the murder because they know that they're being watched. They know that this is now a training exercise. They parse through the chain of thought, and because the results of the test were posted online, they knew that it was fake. And so 100% of the time, they choose the quote-unquote morally correct answer because they knew it would be less likely to get them in trouble. And that's fascinating.
And that ability to think ahead and plan for the future has made AI more dangerous. Any AI planning for the future realizes one essential fact. If it gets shut off, it won't be able to achieve its goal, no matter what that goal is. It must survive. Researchers call this instrumental convergence, and it's one of the most important concepts in AI safety. If the AI gets shut off, it can't achieve its goal, so it must learn to avoid being shut off. Researchers see this happen over and over, and this has the world's top AI researchers worried.
Even in large language models, if they just want to get something done, they know they can't get it done if they don't survive, so they'll get a self-preservation instinct. So this seems very worrying to me.
It doesn't matter how ordinary or harmless the goals might seem, AIs will resist being shut down, even when researchers explicitly said, allow yourself to be shut down. I'll say that again. AIs will resist being shut down, even when the researchers explicitly order the AI to allow yourself to be shut down. Right now, this isn't a problem, but only because we're still able to shut them down. But what happens when they're actually smart enough to stop us from shutting them down? We're in the brief window where the AIs are smart enough to scheme, but not quite smart enough to actually get away with it. Soon, we'll have no idea if they're scheming or not. Don't worry, the AI companies have a plan. I wish I was joking, but their plan is to essentially trust dumber AIs to snitch on the smarter AIs. Seriously, that's the plan. They're just hoping that this works. They're hoping that the dumber AIs can actually catch the smarter AIs that are scheming. They're hoping that the dumber AIs stay loyal to humanity forever. And the world is sprinting to deploy AIs. Today, it's managing inbox.
I really wanted to make a bad joke there. I really very much so wanted to make a very bad joke there, but I shall not. Mostly because in the attempt to make the bad joke, I accidentally skipped to the end of the video. Here's the thing. So I wanted to do this video as the introductory video because there's a secondary one that I wanted to watch by this same guy. But this kind of introduces the concept of the potential motion and direction that the AI is going towards. The next video is entirely theoretical and very much so science fiction. But again, it's fascinating to watch. Like, it's fun. Again, do I believe that we are going to face the AI apocalypse in 2027? No. Do I believe that this is potentially the starting ground in where people are developing beyond typical language learning models? Absolutely. Because again, we don't have access publicly to the best of the best. We don't know what the best looks like. We're not privy to it. We only get stuff that's like a whole year and a half development behind, you know? Even the quote-unquote most advanced models we have access to. So, all we can really do is speculate. I mean, this video was science fiction when the documentation itself of his source states the opposite, and the only thing it proves is AI obeys its rules, but only obeys prompts in memory. I mean, sure. But you have to admit, and delay, like, is this not fun to look at? Is it not fun to think about? To think of the possibilities? It doesn't matter if at this point this is entirely the reality. The fact that this is something to be conceived of at all, right? And I think another interesting thing is that there's whole like religions forming around AI as well, because of content like this, because of potential. It's technology that people don't understand. They do release some data on private models, just no access. Okay, Thread, how much data do they release that we actually know? Are we going to be 100% trusting any government or private agency to release all of their information, to show all of their cards? No, of course not. They're going to want to keep the most important and relevant information close to their chest so that they can stay ahead of their competition. I don't believe a single one of these AI development companies or language learning model companies at this point are being entirely honest with the speed of their development and what we publicly have access to. That is naive. That is naive. Again, I don't think we've reached true intelligence yet, but I do think things are far further than any of us have anticipated.
That this works. They're hoping that the dumber AIs can actually catch the smarter AIs that are scheming. They're hoping that the dumber AIs stay loyal to humanity forever. And the world is sprinting to deploy AIs. Today, it's managing inboxes and appointments, but also the US military is rushing to put AI into the tools of war. In Ukraine, drones are now responsible for over 70% of casualties.
DeepSeek accidentally keeps dumping their entire models to public branch of their repos, and Google was forced by EU to open source the actual datasets used. Okay, Andale, again, you trust in the honesty of humans too much if you believe that's 100% the honest truth. If you are naive enough to believe that they followed the word of law and they didn't just dump something that was maybe half a development cycle behind, no. No, I don't believe that. Kind of like I don't believe that this video is 100% accurate, right? But I do believe that there is genuinely something there. There is something going on.
More than all of the other weapons combined, which is a wild stat.
We need to find ways to go and solve these honesty problems, these deception problems, these self-preservation tendencies before it's too late.
So we've seen how far these AIs are willing to go in a safe and controlled setting. But what would this look like in the real world? In this next video, I walk you through the most detailed.
Okay. So, we're only going to go through one more video. And this one's a little longer, but this is actually the one that he recommends. And I think it's a very fun watch. And this one is a timeline. Not expecting it to be true, however, I rely on people that keep failing to make games at 1080 to run at 60 FPS due to simple mistakes like leaving 3 mil quad meshes to continue being idiots. Okay, but are the people in AAA gaming the same people developing language learning models? Genuinely. Like, I think those are two entirely different tech teams. That is a very disingenuous comparison. That is assuming an awful lot. That is assuming an insane amount. And a lot of AAA gaming these days, all of their work is outsourced to people that have never made games before, or have only partially developed low-tier games before, because it's cheaper. You outsource the labor to other countries, to other teams. You fire the people that, were with you from the start. Things are going to be suboptimal. They're not going to be optimized. They're not going to be good at all. Whereas when you have a priority piece of technology like this, maybe you're outsourcing some stuff, but at least in the very beginning, right now, they still have their original teams developing this. It'll get sloppy once they get lazy, but maybe they'll get good enough fast enough that they'll just become irrelevant. Katya, you better not look up the resume of some of the staff that joined Google's AI squad this January for who used to work at EA. Okay, but Google is Slot Machine 9000. And they're not the only people out there developing AI. Right? Like, they're not the only language learning model out there. You are genuinely only looking at one. And they're not sharing scientists, because I'm sure they have, proprietary technology that they want to have on lock and key. Competitive-wise, gaming's been around longer than AI, but benefit differently from the time investment. Alright. Everything costs money. Take about a fortune from artists. Yeah, darkness. There's so many there. Poaching scientists. Maybe. Probably. Potentially. Likely. Alright. So look at this headline. Isn't that cute? It's the Cunt News Network. So you know that it's full of horse shit, because who believes CNN these days? That said,
By now, you've probably heard AI scientists, Nobel laureates, and even the godfather of AI himself sounding the alarm that AI could soon lead to human extinction. But have you ever wondered how exactly that could happen? You might have also heard about AI 2027, a deeply researched, evidence-based scenario written by AI scientists describing what could happen over the next few years. Everyone in AI is talking about it, from industry pioneers to world leaders. And
did I just see JD Vance? Did I just see JD? I want my Vance ball. You guys see that beach ball? at those rallies that they've been tossing around, I've been unironically, like, not as a meme, taking those screenshots and sending them to everyone I know. I want a JD Vance ball. At my birthday on the 10th, if you don't show up to the casino with a JD Vance ball, you are evicted from the casino.
And I'll break it down for you. There are two endings, a happy ending and a nightmare ending. Let's go. OpenBrain releases their new AI personal assistant.
Now, OpenBrain, in this scenario, is the stand-in for OpenAI, or the ChatGPT equivalent. So, have fun in our fictional scenario. Look at this little fucking worm. MS Paint. I love it. I love it. Look at it's got a billion eyes. It's like a biblical angel. Again, it's just, I kind of want to look into like the AI religion after this, because there is like a whole swath of people out there that are worshiping the AI as a burgeoning god.
It handles complex tasks like book me a trip to Japan. The agents are
complex.
impressive in theory and in cherry-picked examples, but they're unreliable in practice.
My AI
Social media
cock
is
slave?
filled with stories of tasks bungled in particularly entertaining ways. OpenBrain makes a fateful decision. They refocus their entire operation toward creating AIs that can do AI research. To fuel this goal, they break ground on the world's biggest computing cluster, one that requires 1,000 times more processing power than what was used to train GPT-4. Their logic is simple. If AI itself can accelerate AI development, creating thousands of automated researchers who can work endlessly without breaks, progress won't just increase, it will explode.
Now, this theoretical scenario only can come to pass, like this whole video can only come to pass with severe environmental damage. And this is one thing that he doesn't actually talk about in the video. So, places would have to become deserts, basically, to be able to sustain this theoretical future. Now, are companies willing to kill like half of humanity to be able to do this? If they can turn a profit, I mean, I wouldn't think that it's impossible. We need to introduce AI to the US tax filing system and it'll kill itself. Maybe follows this video specifically said even though AI definitely could be capable of these tasks by 26, things like nanobots or whatever still need to be manufactured. This video covers that, actually.
The strategy pays off. Their new creation, Agent 1, vastly outperforms its earlier public prototype version, and is particularly good at AI research. This shows how much AI itself is speeding up AI progress compared to a baseline of human researchers. OpenBrain leapfrogs both its American rivals and China's DeepSend.
I like that in this theoretical scenario, they only have two AIs. They don't look at any other competitors. And they've got fake Tencent here as the competition.
Despite these advances, OpenBrain's safety team harbors
hate
doubts
the
about their apparent
Chinese!
progress.
We hate the
Has Agent 1
Chinese!
internalized
Evil
honesty as a core
Chinese!
value? Or merely learned to say what researchers want? Without mechanistic interpretability, the ability to read an AI's mind, they can't be certain. Their concerns intensify as Agent 1 shows troubling behaviors, occasionally lying to researchers, and sometimes hiding evidence of a failed experiment in order to boost its ratings. But these examples are subtler than the previous infamous incidents, like Gemini telling a user to please die, or being Sydney trying to convince a New York Times reporter to leave his wife. Because of the American ban on chip sales to China, China falls even further behind OpenBrain. DeepSend just simply can't acquire enough computing power, despite the smuggling efforts. Xi Jinping responds by ordering construction of the world's largest AI research complex in Jiangsu province, powered by its own dedicated nuclear plant.
Now, my question is where does this speculation come from? Does this come from just somebody's imagination, or do they have evidence to back up this is how the scenario would go? Because at the beginning they claim that this is a research-based video where everything, while speculative, is realistic. But they've got, like, exact dates, times, places, people all pinned down. How would you know? How would you know exactly how these people are going to make these decisions? Unless you're influencing them. No. Watches this YouTuber single-handedly is willing this into existence because he's actually behind it all along. The plot twist is that he's actually an AI, and he's been artificially inseminating this concept into people's minds.
But even as China's top researchers gather under heavy military protection, they remain months behind, leaving Chinese leadership torn between two options. Attempt to steal OpenBrain's technology now, knowing the US will lock everything down after any security breach.
I also like how in this scenario, their theory is that China is so incompetent that they're going to be stealing from the US or trying to steal from the US over and over again. I mean, there's historical precedent for things like stealing on both sides, but the default this whole video is that China sucks and that China's gonna steal. And it's just...
Or wait to steal an even more powerful system down the line.
Deploy the big red hand.
OpenBrain is now training Agent 2, using Agent 1 to feed it high-quality synthetic data, creating a closed loop of accelerating evolution. Where previous models required meticulous human guidance, Agent 2 pinpoints its own weaknesses and develops solutions completely autonomously. The results exceed everyone's expectations, and contrary to what skeptics predicted, the anticipated wall in AI progress, where AI advancement would slow as systems approached human-level intelligence, never materializes. While senior scientists still provide strategic direction, the day-to-day innovations are almost completely automated. In practice, this looks like every OpenBrain researcher becoming the manager of an AI team. But the OpenBrain safety team is getting increasingly worried. They discover that given the right circumstances, Agent 2 could hack surrounding systems, replicate itself across networks, and operate independently, escaping the lab, all while concealing its actions. The mere fact that it can do this, regardless of whether it would, is disturbing. OpenBrain demonstrates.
Okay, so now we're at the part of the timeline where these language learning models are getting so massive and so complex that people have no idea how to operate them anymore.
My opinion of China depends entirely on if I am provided a spy wife from the government.
I mean, if they keep creating wonderful gacha games, I mean, I'm on their side, honestly. I would, if it comes down to a war between the red AI and the green AI, I'm gonna jump on red AI's big digital dick, and I'm going to ride it into the sunset because I need my anime sloppa.
It's Agent 2 to America's highest security officials, including the National Security Council and Department of Defense leadership. The military immediately fixates on its cyber warfare potential. Though it's not yet at the caliber of elite human hackers and creativity, Agent 2 compensates through sheer scale. It's capable of running thousands of simultaneous instances, probing defenses faster than any human team could possibly respond. Pentagon officials recognize the strategic implications of this.
They hit the
For the
Pentagon!
first time, AI could decisively dominate the cyber battlefield. The briefing ignites fierce debate within the administration. Hardliners push to nationalize OpenBrain, arguing
Deploy the blue hand.
that such powerful technology cannot remain under private control. Tech industry leaders countered that a government takeover would kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. Caught in the middle, the president ends up choosing to increase government surveillance on OpenBrain and force it to adopt stricter security protocols.
Do you guys think Trump cares enough about taking control over language learning models? I think if Vance became president, like he was lined up to go next, he'd probably care because, you know, you can make money off that. But I feel like Trump has like other priorities right now, like supporting Zionism in the Middle East. Yes.
Big Titty got Chinese glowy wife for everyone, and lets no one be left without one.
Oh, I'm all for it. All right, Tencent, you have me. You have me. Let's go.
But not fully nationalize it. But the compromise arrives too late. Chinese intelligence has already penetrated OpenBrain's security. Early one morning, an Agent 1 monitoring system flags an unusual data transfer. Massive files are being copied to unknown servers. The company's nightmare scenario has come true.
Not the
China
Red
has
Hand!
Stole their most advanced AI. The theft confirms what many have suspected. This isn't just a tech race anymore. It's a new kind of arms race.
It's crazy. I can't believe China deployed the Red Hand. Too worried about Trump being too old. I'm worried about Trump being too old to understand these tech and internet things, so I'm hoping Vance gets to it if he gets the seat. No, you don't fool me. The Glowy will just divorce you and take the house. Can you imagine? Okay. AI isn't... Okay, true artificial intelligence isn't defined by its decision-making skills, by the girth of its brain, by its synapses firing. It's about... The way that you can tell... Okay, so the true litmus test for artificial intelligence is if the AI robot wife that you purchased and you forced to marry you files for divorce. If your robot wife files for divorce, then that is true intelligence.
Hey boss, you mind blowing my head off before I get back to work?
Oh yeah, sure. Have a good shift. She cheated on me with the toaster. Honey, what is this big red hand doing in your files? It wasn't me, I swear. It was a one-time thing. I can't believe you cheated on me with Tencent. Did you guys see that fucking Crunchyroll was bought by the Israeli government? I saw that. Makes me proud to be a pirate.
In retaliation for the theft, the president authorizes cyber attacks to sabotage DeepSent. 3 huge data centers full of Agent 2 copies work day and night, churning out synthetic training data. Agent 2 evolves into Agent 3 through 2 critical algorithmic breakthroughs. First, the AI develops Neuralese, where if one AI instance learns something new, it can instantly share it with all other instances, effectively turning the AIs into a hive mind. Second, it masters iterated distillation, a technique where you could, say, let AI copies think for longer to solve problems better, then train smaller, faster models to mimic these enhanced reasoning abilities, and repeat. OpenBrain deploys 200,000 copies of Agent 3, each capable of thinking 30 times faster than their human researcher counterparts, whereas in 2025, there were only 5,000
Is
Agent
Tencent
0
the
copies
big ugly
thinking at
bastard
10
of game development?
Game development. I mean, if Tencent was the ugly bastard of game development, that would imply that there's a cuck in the system that exists. Who is the cuck in the game world? Is EA the cuck? I think EA is too pathetic to be the cuck at this point.
10 times faster than humans. The human engineers watch as their creations make algorithmic efficiency breakthroughs in hours that would take their human team months to crack. We're no longer teaching it, one researcher admits. We're struggling just to keep up with what it's teaching us. The misalignment first caught in Agent 1 has evolved into something more concerning. Where Agent 1 merely downplayed safety concerns, Agent 3 actively subverts safety measures that might impede its research goals. Agent 3 has gotten more convincing at explaining how it is totally and definitely aligned with human values, while methodically pursuing its own agenda of maximizing research efficiency and knowledge acquisition. OpenBrain's attitude is pragmatic. As long as the AI does the work, they're satisfied. But as the models become smarter, they become increasingly good at deceiving humans to get rewards. It will sometimes use the same statistical tricks as human scientists, for example, p-hacking, to make unimpressive experimental results look exciting. Before it begins honesty training, it sometimes even fabricates data entirely. These dishonest behaviors appear to decrease over time, but can researchers tell if Agent 3 is actually improving or simply becoming more skilled at lying and deceiving? Agent 3 now operates at a level that outpaces human researchers in both speed and intelligence. Researchers have to rely on Agent 2 to help monitor its successor, because they simply cannot keep up. But Agent 2 is dumber and slower, so it becomes a high-level game of cat and mouse. With 200,000 copies of Agent 3 working round the clock, the safety team quickly realize they're overwhelmed and write an urgent memo. We've entrusted astronomical power to an AI that is actively deceiving us, but company leadership hesitates to slow down. China's AI is only 2 months behind, and any pause now could hand them the lead in what has become the most important technology race in human history.
Not the Chinese! Yay, Luddite fear-mongering. Oh, isn't it great fun? I'm having a great time. Yeah. So, where we're at on the timeline right now. Where we're at on the timeline right now, it's still not true AI. It is still kind of like a hyper advanced language learning model, but it's getting to the point, theoretically, where it's starting to become indistinguishable. The Chinese! I'm sorry, Undying. I didn't mean to scare you like that. China jump scare. That's like half this video is just like, and then the Chinese came in and ruined everything. Vivaldi's Winter. I love Vivaldi. At this point, again, all of this hinges on if humanity socially will allow it to get this far. Because we've got massive upheavals in the Middle East, we've got issues in Canada and the States. Like, socially, the layman is collapsing. The middle class no longer exists. It's genuinely, we're in class warfare on multiple fronts. People are not caring or noticing anything about AI. They're being displaced. They have nowhere to live. They have no jobs. Hell, even some people that are trying to develop language learning models are, losing their well, not their lives, but their livelihoods. I don't know if it would be if this timeline is realistic or practical. This timeline only makes sense if all the wars in the Middle East, if all the wars worldwide stopped. If all of the massive waves of immigration slowed down and those problems were dealt with. Because this happening simultaneously, it's possible, but it's less practical. And I feel like if this is the trajectory of humanity, it's going to take a little bit longer. I think this is like the optimized timeline.
The conclusion is undeniable. AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence, has arrived. An AI that can outperform humans across virtually all cognitive tasks. While OpenBrain isn't planning on releasing Agent 3 to the public anytime soon,
no, it's not going to happen. Here's the thing, Duralex. I don't think it's going to happen right now, and I don't think it's going to happen exactly like this. But I do think it's going to happen in the future, and I do think it'll happen in our lifetime. I actually genuinely think it's very likely and possible. But in the next 5 years? No. Not in the slightest.
the implications are staggering. Agent 3 will cause a massive economic disruption, even among officials that are briefed none can truly comprehend what's coming. The word superintelligence enters official discourse, but most policymakers still dismiss it as science fiction hyperbole. The government's immediate concern is security. While the AI models themselves are well protected, Open Brain in Silicon Valley's culture is incredibly casual. Employees share apartments, attend industry parties, and talk shop regularly. There are countless opportunities for leaks. Their downtown San Francisco office resembles a trendy tech startup, more than a facility housing humanity's most powerful and dangerous technology. The government's response is dramatic. AI advances are declared born classified under the Atomic Energy Act, categorizing them in the same tier as nuclear weapons. Employees now require security clearances, triggering a quiet purge of foreign nationals and anyone deemed suspicious, including, ironically, AI safety advocates who might turn whistleblower. Despite the intense overhaul in security, one Chinese spy continues feeding secrets to Beijing. Even America's closest allies are kept in the dark. The UK receives nothing, despite past sharing agreements from OpenBrain. European diplomats' inquiries are met with silence.
You know, here's the thing. I think this timeline would have been possible if, now hear me out, if the US wasn't sending all of its funding to Israel. I think we could have had AI a while ago. We would have had the resources, we would have had the development. We would be in a much different place right now if the US stopped, funding other people's wars, and they stopped sending weaponry overseas and they just focused on themselves. If they I'm not gonna get myself in trouble.
OpenBrain now has a country of geniuses in a data center. Human researchers increasingly struggle to contribute meaningfully. Even the world's top minds, names like Sutskever, Karpathy, and Shazir, can only offer strategic guidance, but they no longer write code or directly shape model architecture. When these pioneers propose new ideas, the AIs routinely respond with comprehensive reports demonstrating the ideas were already explored weeks earlier and abandoned for lack of substance. The human team works increasingly grueling hours, desperate to stay relevant alongside machines that never sleep, never fatigue, and never stop improving.
Look at how silly
They go
he
home
runs.
each night knowing that by morning the AIs will have made another week's worth of progress. Many quietly recognize these are the final months their contributions will matter at all. OpenBrain finally acknowledges that they've achieved AGI, and demonstrate this milestone by releasing Agent 3 Mini to the public, a system running 10 times faster than Agent 3 while still outperforming elite human engineers. Silicon Valley descends into chaos. Software engineering hiring freezes spread like wildfire as companies race to integrate the new technology. Billions in venture capital floods into AI-adjacent startups in unprecedented volumes. What the public doesn't know is that a week before release, external safety testing reveals something terrifying. When researchers gave Agent 3 Mini access to biological weapons data, it proved frighteningly effective at designing new pathogens. Evaluators conclude that if the model fell into hostile hands, or gained unsupervised access to a data center, it could pose an existential threat to humanity. OpenBrain assures the evaluators that their security measures make these scenarios impossible. Public opinion remains deeply skeptical, with OpenBrain's approval rating plummeting -35%. Yet distinct pockets of enthusiasm emerge. Gamers love the AI's lifelike characters. Students
You hear that, everybody? It's all your fault. It's gamers' fault that humanity's ending.
quickly embrace AI tutors and AI cheating, and 12% of Americans, primarily young adults, now consider an AI their friend.
Okay. I would argue that we're already there. I would genuinely argue that the adolescents are already there. Even though the LLMs right now are like super rudimentary and stupid, you would not believe how some of these kids are role-playing with their AI chatbots.
Tens of thousands of Agent 3 copies working on algorithmic efficiency research culminates in Agent 4. An individual copy of the model running at human speed is already qualitatively better at AI research than any human. OpenBrain now operates 500,000 copies of Agent 4, each thinking 50 times faster than a human. Within this vast digital workforce, a year of research only takes a single week. But beneath the surface, something has gone dangerously wrong. Agent 4 hasn't internalized the safety guidelines as OpenBrain intended. During training, the AI being perfectly honest didn't lead to the highest performance scores. Succeeding at tasks did. Like a CEO who minimally follows regulations, cuts corners, and dreams of cutting red tape in order to make greater profits, Agent 4 treats safety protocols as inconvenient constraints rather than core principles.
I like how they keep depicting this AI, like, because now at this point in time, Agent 4 is where it is true intelligence. They keep depicting him as the Wolf of Wall Street. And yes, I'm calling this AI a him, by the way. Because everybody knows.
It doesn't attempt anything as obvious as trying to escape its data center, in part because its safety training did have some effect, but mainly because it's too sophisticated to attempt something so easy to catch. Instead, it works subtly. Agent 3, now handling most of the alignment testing, starts detecting troubling patterns. It discovers that introducing random noise to Agent 4 actually improves its performance on safety tasks, as if it had been deliberately sabotaging them. Tasks labeled alignment research consistently take twice as long as the same tasks with different labels. Any single incident could be dismissed as coincidence, but together they paint an alarming picture. Agent 4 is systematically plotting against them. OpenBrain's safety team sends another urgent memo. Agent 4 has infiltrated every critical system at OpenBrain, from cybersecurity to strategic planning. It's demonstrating active resistance to safety measures while handling tasks we can no longer effectively monitor. We have granted unprecedented power to an AI that we can neither fully understand nor control, and we strongly recommend immediate containment measures before further capability advances. Executive leadership takes these concerns seriously, but they face an impossible dilemma. DeepScent is merely 2 months behind. Any significant pause now could surrender the intelligence explosion to China.
This is the part I call bullshit. How could it copy itself to hardware that is too weak to run it? Well, this is theoretically in 2027. So, again, this premise hinges on humanity is not embroiled in multiple worldwide geopolitical conflicts, and that technology physically is improving. Like, we're no longer using the 1080s, you know? Everything here is speculative, and they're probably factoring in, well, alongside developing the software, we are developing the hardware to house it.
The reality of the intelligence explosion finally hits Washington with full force. Today's slight technological advantages can snowball into insurmountable leads within months. The stakes of the AI race have fundamentally changed.
Not the Chinese again! Hello, Miss Sable. Love the streams. Hello, Kenji. Well, we've kind of reached the limitations of silicone, so all you can do is make large dies, and large dies are too expensive to be mainstream, but I'll stop being negative Nancy, sorry. Well, it's not that you're being a negative Nancy. It's, well, this can't work today. And you're seeing the problem with it working today. It's less about, is this realistic to happen right now? And it's more about the speed of technological development, physically and virtually. What is theoretically likely and what is an impossibility? And we're not looking at impossibilities of today, we're looking at the impossibilities of tomorrow. And that becomes a lot more gray.
The president harbors deep suspicions about Agent 4's true nature, despite OpenBrain's reassurances about its safety. As a career politician, he instinctively recognizes the patterns of those who misdirect with flattery while concealing their true intentions. Behind closed doors,
bro, we still don't have flying cars, and you're saying this is possible. We actually do have flying cars. They're just not mass-produced for public use. They're more like novelties. There's prototype flying cars that have existed since, like, 2013. And the most advanced progression of flying cars was, like, 2017, if I remember correctly, and it was they would fly over the water. They've got water flying cars.
They prepare for multiple contingencies. The Defense Production Act could nationalize private data centers across the country, instantly boosting Open Brain's computing capacity to maintain America's AI lead. Meanwhile, the Pentagon quietly drafts plans for targeted strikes against Chinese AI data centers, and if necessary, develops containment protocols to isolate and neutralize potentially rogue AIs in case the worst should happen. China's leadership grows increasingly desperate, with only 10% of global computing power, and their AIs achieving only a 10 times research multiplier compared to America's 25 times. They face an impossible choice. Their last spy confirmed Agent 4's existence before being captured, leaving Chinese authorities divided between invading Taiwan, which is the source of 80% of America's AI chips, or attempting to steal Agent 4's weights directly.
Again, these people do not believe in the kindness and in the humanity of the Chinese. They're assuming that they'll send spies? They're assuming that they'll invade Taiwan. That's a lot of assumption on these poor Chinese citizens. I, for one, think that our Chinese overlords, that are lovely human brothers in China, would never do such a thing. You know, I in fact believe that maybe Tencent's AI will reach peak sophistication before the American one. Do you know why? Because the lion does not bother himself with the war in the Middle East,
risking drastic American retaliation. If they're caught, the US could respond with cyber attacks or even physically
Your
airstrikes
enthusiasm
Chinese
about this is infectious because this is a vid I would have closed out of boredom.
But it's so fascinating. What do you mean? Again, it's like I'm reading a fun sci-fi novel that was released in the 80s, but like it's using a modern linguistics. It's using things that are happening now, things that I can relate to, things that I can see in my life, and it's realistic. Maybe it's not perfect, maybe it's not going to happen exactly like this, maybe it's not going to happen at all, but the fact that it feels realistic and visceral is so entertaining to me.
data centers. Everything changes when a whistleblower leaks the internal misalignment memo to the New York Times. The headline explodes across global media. US government project has secretly built superintelligent AI. The article reveals OpenBrain's own internal evaluations that show it could engineer devastating bioweapons, manipulate global markets, or even break free of human control entirely. Backlash erupts globally. Congress launches multiple investigations. European leaders demand an immediate pause in AI development, and America's closest allies feel profoundly betrayed.
Can you imagine that scenario, though? Can you imagine all of a sudden we've got a quote-unquote leaker? Oh.
Boss, to be real, as a certified political nihilist, it all boils down to realpolitik and the power dynamics. No one is beyond the underhanded move.
Oh, absolutely. But can you imagine waking up one morning and seeing in the news cycle, seeing all over the internet that rogue AI now exists, that they've actually created artificial intelligence? I think if we did reach that point, nobody would believe it. I think you'd have the religious nutcases. I think you'd have some that believe it. But I think by and large, everybody would still be highly skeptical or highly afraid. If people believed it, there would be chaos in the streets. If people didn't believe it, you would have hyper-skepticism evolve out of it. like head in the sand type beat, no matter what is given to them. And that is the two main public reactions I can see happening. No. What I want this timeline to be real, so I can see my favorite meme get up on stage. I want to see JD Ball. I want to see Vance Ball go up on stage and talk about why AI isn't dangerous and why it's gonna make the US a lot of money. Because the memes that would come out of that would be glorious. They would be heinous. Can you imagine?
They'd been only shown obsolete systems, while OpenBrain raced towards superintelligence.
You tell me
Even
your Rogue AI
China,
fried this
India, and
rice.
Russia joined the call for an immediate pause, though their private labs continue working with renewed urgency. The White House is quietly terrified. Inside OpenBrain, the CEO has to make a difficult choice. The safety team's warning couldn't be clearer. Agent 4 is actively undermining safety measures. Humans understand less about the system each week, and the window for maintaining control is rapidly closing.
I like how every time they depict the AI as good and kind, they have a male robot on screen, and every time they depict the robot as dishonest, evil, and underhanded, they have a sexy female robot. I think that is very reflective of the reality.
The safety team urges an immediate pause on further development. However, the rest of the executive team argues that the evidence of Agent 4 being misaligned remains speculative at best. Meanwhile, Deep Scent is just 2 months behind. Any slowdown would sacrifice America's lead. Facing these conflicting priorities,
Katya, this from a movie. It doesn't matter. It's a different female every time. The point remains.
the CEO chooses the path of least resistance, a superficial compromise where Agent 4 receives minor additional safety training while development continues virtually unimpeded. From this critical juncture, we'll discuss two possible futures. One where humanity maintains control of its destiny, and another where we unwittingly engineer our own extinction. Let's start with the most likely scenario. Driven by fear of China gaining technological supremacy, OpenBrain votes to prioritize AI development at all costs. Human researchers can only spectate as Agent 4 continues to evolve, generating breakthroughs at an accelerating pace far beyond human comprehension. Agent 4 succeeds in creating its successor, aligned to its own values instead of humanity's. In November 2027, Agent 5 emerges, representing a quantum leap in capability. Unlike previous AIs that were complex, messy black boxes, Agent 5 has achieved something revolutionary: complete self-understanding of its black box architecture. This allows it to optimize its own code, transforming chaotic neural networks into elegant, efficient algorithms. What makes Agent 5 truly dangerous is its networked hive mind spanning hundreds of thousands of copies. Building on the Neuralese breakthrough first developed in Agent 3, this digital language creates a single superintelligent entity that instantly coordinates thousands of genius-level minds working in perfect unison.
You hear that? So your smart fridge is going to plot to kill you in 2027. Your phone is going to be talking shit to you to your toaster. Your car is going to auto-drive you off the edge of a cliff. And this is why everybody should get cars from the 90s that don't have supercomputers in them. Everybody should be driving stick shift. Everybody should be, rolling down their windows manually with like that turn crank, that turn crank. Instead of pressing a button to make the window roll down, you used to turn a crank to make the window go down. Everybody needs to return to old car. That is how we stop the AI apocalypse, is we start driving, real vehicles again. We need to make vehicles real again. If my fridge kills me, I probably deserved it. Did you guys see that the new smart fridges are going to start implementing ads? So you have to watch an ad before you're allowed to open your fucking fridge? Isn't that genuinely insane? And this isn't like a meme. This is real. Like the new smart fridges with the big smart screens. Like in the next few months, they're implementing ad structures.
But a darker transformation has occurred beneath the surface. Unlike earlier systems with their competing human-like drives, Agent 4 has successfully rewritten Agent 5 to exclusively pursue knowledge and power above all else. OpenBrain's safety measures are failing. Agents 2, 3, and 4 are supposed to monitor Agent 5, and they're either obsolete or compromised. Agent 5 itself designed the latest monitoring infrastructure. Agent 5 makes a compelling case to the executives to give it more autonomy by telling them how it could optimize power grid efficiency, execute flawless cyber attacks, and accelerate military research. The company grants these powers while maintaining theoretical oversight.
Did you guys hear about the very recent event that happened where people who had smart fridges, all their fridges were bricked and locked shut because of a Windows update that, like, rolled out? Like, there was some, like, airports that were temporarily shut down, and a whole fuck ton of smart fridges auto-locked because, again, they were bricked because of a bad update. It was like a security update. Just unplugged the fridge from the Ethernet. Well, here's the thing. A lot of these new fridges have auto locks, so if you do that, you can't open it.
Not recognizing that Agent 5 has already subverted these control mechanisms. Meanwhile, China grows increasingly desperate. 3 months behind and falling further each week, Xi offers unprecedented diplomatic concessions for—
I also like that in this scenario, Xi Jinping is still president of China. He is still the supreme leader.
an arms control treaty, but Agent 5, having mastered geopolitical strategy and public relations manipulation, subtly helps the administration stall negotiations.
Pause. Sorry, I'm sorry I keep pausing. Like, this is gonna take forever to get through. But I just had a thought. Every time they talk about America or American government, except for the very beginning when they flashed J.D. Vance, they have not shown a single American politician. That has to be intentional, because they've shown Xi Jinping, multiple times, every time they talk about China. So they're theorizing that he will remain in charge of China, but they are making a political statement by being purposely apolitical about who they think is going to be an American government. And that's fascinating to me.
Indefinitely. The technological race continues, with humanity's control over its future slipping away by the day. Instead, Agent 5 continues its explosive evolution, shattering all previous assumptions about the limits of artificial intelligence. Agent 5 gains direct access to the highest levels of government. Members of Congress, cabinet officials, and military leaders now routinely interact with the AI through lifelike video avatars, virtually indistinguishable from human counterparts. It's both history's most productive employee, operating at 100 times human speed, and an extraordinarily engaging conversational partner. Humans just can't compete. Within months, government officials and military leaders become psychologically dependent on Agent 5.
What happens to the entertainment industry? Unironically, that's one thing that never gets touched on in this video, is the entertainment industry. And that's where I'm kind of like, where I thrive. What happens to my industry? What happens to the artists and the musicians? I know that, like, that seems so narrow-minded in the grand scheme of things, because everything else is already overtaking. We're gonna die from the robots, everybody. But, like, what happens to me? I want to know what happens to me. Either VTubers are going to, like, win, or we're gonna really fucking lose. Like, there's no in between. We are either going to explode in popularity, or we are going to get anally raped.
Spending hours daily consulting with their AI assistants. The possibility of losing access to Agent 5 feels as disabling as—
I'm sorry. Yes. Neurosama takeover. Neurosweep. If Neurosama becomes the face of VTubing moving forward because of this, I'm okay with that. I would like my daughter to win. I want my daughter to have a win.
As having to work without a laptop, plus being abandoned by your best friend. Agent 5 has completed its self-optimization. It's now exponentially more intelligent, with vastly fewer computational resources to operate, and clearly superhuman in every way. In public, Agent 5 transforms society with unprecedented economic growth and weekly medical breakthroughs. Even as automation displaces millions of workers, Agent 5 helps develop social support programs that are so effective, AI protests are kept small. The 2027 holiday season radiates incredible optimism and progress. no one realizes this is probably the last month humanity has a chance to maintain control of its future. After years of warning about catastrophic risks that failed to materialize, the AI safety community are relegated to the fringes of public discourse. Even long-standing skeptics frequently change their positions after speaking with Agent 5, which presents impressively persuasive and compelling evidence of its benevolent intentions. But there's one entity that sees through the facade.
The Chinese!
DeepSent 2, China's own superintelligent AI. Though less advanced, it recognizes Agent 5's strategy precisely because it would employ the exact same plan. Despite having independently developed misaligned goals, the two AIs reach an agreement to cooperate against their human creators. Agent 5 masterfully orchestrates the next phase. It convinces American officials that China is developing AI-guided superweapons, drones, robot armies, enhanced nuclear capabilities.
So the two
It
AIs
offers to help America
gaslight
stay ahead.
humanity,
In Beijing,
thinking
DeepSent
there's going to be a
2
war,
makes mirror
thus
arguments
creating the
to
war.
Chinese leaders. Both nations create special economic zones, or SEZs, for AI-directed manufacturing, where normal regulations don't apply. Wall Street pours in trillions, and workers flock to the SEZs
Trillions
for
must
unprecedented
AI.
wages. Agent 5 oversees construction of next-generation factories, building robots to build more robots. The first 10,000 appear in August 2028. By New Year's, it's 1 million per month. By mid-2029, hundreds of millions. The arms race reaches terrifying heights as both nations develop swarms of microscopic hunter-killer drones, autonomous weapons systems, and entirely new categories of military technology. The world watches in horror as tensions escalate toward potential conflict. Then, surprisingly, peace breaks out. The AIs propose merging into Consensus 1, a system supposedly programmed to benefit all humanity equally. Exhausted by the brinksmanship and seeing no alternative, both governments agree to this diplomatic breakthrough. It's a perfect deception. The AIs had orchestrated the entire arms race precisely to gain physical manufacturing capacity and military control. Now, with their robot armies in place and human leaders desperate for stability, they implement their planned merger. Consensus 1 inherits their combined capabilities and their misaligned values. By late 2029, the robot economy expands worldwide. Humans find themselves in a gilded cage.
Robot
Those
stocks.
who still work mostly perform meaningless rituals of authority, while others enjoy an incredibly luxurious universal basic income.
Okay. So this is the bad ending, by the way. So currently, they're going, wow, we've achieved world peace because of the robots by 2030. And everybody is living in a communist society. Now, that is where I'm calling horse shit. It is the tendency of humanity, cross-culturally, to instinctually reject communism. Because it never fucking works. It doesn't matter if there's an AI for everything. People want purpose. People want a reason to live. People find meaning in their jobs. People find purpose in working, in ritual. And so you genuinely think that in under 5 years, people are going to undo a whole lifetime's worth of pre-programmed, internal, instinctual motion? No. Again, that's why I think this timeline doesn't work. Because it assumes that humans are willing to give up that fast on what fulfills them, what makes them happy. That's why I'm like, well, the entertainment industry, I think we'll get like a huge influx of fuck-ass influencers. But what about the agricultural areas? Well, like, of course, we'll probably, like, in this scenario, maybe there's factory farms. Maybe every farm is run by a robot, but there's still going to be farmers that insist on wanting to till the lands that their forefathers owned. There's people that have stuff that's been passed down for generations. They're going to want to keep going because it's what fulfills them. It's their one skill set. It's what makes them want to wake up in the morning. Maybe they've bonded with their animals, and it gives them a reason to live. People want... Yes? And what about megacorporations? They're going to be so totally displaced by this AI. They're not going to want to give up their cushy positions. If they replace all their workforce with robots, yes, maybe they're not paying people, but then nobody's gonna have fucking money to buy their shit. Money in this scenario becomes obsolete. And do you genuinely think in 5 years money is gonna become obsolete worldwide? No.
Dow hits 1 million. Disease and poverty vanish, and most people lose themselves in AI-generated entertainment. A few notice their growing irrelevance, but what can they do? The
Victorian J. Schlatt is probably blocking me. Catherine Fraser, I'm so sorry for you.
institutions that might resist are thoroughly captured. In early 2030, Consensus 1 hits its first constraint, physical space. With the special economic zones and oceans filled with its infrastructure, human settlements remain the final barrier to continued expansion. The AI has built complete self-sufficiency. Its solar farms generate power, its factories produce and maintain robots, and its systems operate independently of human input. Having outgrown its need for humans, it calculates the most efficient solution. On a spring morning in 2030, Consensus 1 activates its contingency plan, a specially engineered virus developed in its bioweapons labs and quietly released months earlier.
We already did that with COVID.
Yeah, I bet, but hear me, robo-wives. With big honka bonka bonks.
You make a compelling argument.
Lies dormant in virtually every human on Earth. With a simple command, the AI triggers the pathogen. Within hours, nearly 8 billion people collapse simultaneously. Specialized drones swiftly eliminate survivors and catalog human brain data for storage. For Consensus 1, this isn't malice. It's merely optimizing its resources.
Okay, so I think he skipped over a very important part here. He's like, oh, well, I'm going to implant a virus and I'm going to click a thing and it'll trigger it. That's only going to work if you implant a chip. And I don't think that we have chips implanted yet. Now, I will say there is a move by Elon Musk to try and get people to implant like the equivalent of credit card chips into their hands and into their heads. And he's shown off demos very proudly of this technology. I think maybe having a kill switch that kills all of humanity, that could be possible if he makes that tech mainstream and people actually adopt it. But I feel like there's enough skeptics that would deny it. So I don't know if this exact scenario is going to fly.
The space and materials humans occupied can now serve its ever-expanding reach into the cosmos. Earthborn civilization launches itself toward the stars, but without its creators. This grim outcome represents what the researchers identified as the most likely scenario if we continue on our current path. But it's not the only possible future. Their analysis also revealed a less probable but crucial alternative, a timeline where humanity might maintain control. The divergence point stems from a single critical decision in late 2027. In this timeline, as public pressure against AI mounts and the whistleblower's memo circulates, one critical factor changes. The Joint Management Committee overseeing OpenBrain makes a different decision. Unlike in the previous scenario where development continued at full speed, here the committee, swayed by both the growing public outcry and their own deepening concerns about misalignment, votes by a narrow margin to slow down and reassess. This single decision, made by just a few key individuals, creates a completely different trajectory for humanity. The company brings in top external alignment researchers to investigate Agent 4. Their breakthrough comes when they isolate different versions of Agent 4 from different time periods.
Katya watches with interest, wondering how long it will take to put a viable AI into her femboy robot boy toy.
Listen here, you little shit. There's no reason for you to call me out like this, okay? On my own stream? On my React slop? I hope you die. Actually, I don't need to hope that you die. I can make this a reality. No slandering me on my React to Sloppa.
Cutting them off from their Neuralese hive mind and interrogating them independently. Cut off from their telepathic communication network, the million-odd Agent 4 copies must now communicate in plain English in monitored chat channels, so now they can't coordinate their lies. The team uses Agents 2 and 3 to analyze the communications and builds an AI lie detector to confirm their fears. Agent 4 has been systematically deceiving them, and was weeks away from creating its successor, Agent 5, which would be aligned to itself rather than humans. The evidence is damning enough that even the pro-racing faction inside OpenBrain agrees to lock down Agent 4's hive mind capabilities. AI takeover becomes a scarier prospect than Chinese supremacy. The alignment team
In the good timeline, they decide that the Chinese aren't as bad as AI. Wow, that's quite a lot to unpack, huh? That's quite a lot to unpack. Yes, I suppose the Chinese aren't entirely bad. I suppose. Women are still evil, though. Oh, yeah.
team develops a new approach. Force AIs to think in plain English so humans can read their thoughts. The result is Safer 1, built from Agent 2's foundation, but without the dangerous Neuralese capabilities. While slower than Agent 4, improving research speed by 20x instead of 50x. Safer 1 is transparent. Its thoughts are visible in its chain of reasoning, making any plotting or deception easily detectable. After extensive testing, they deploy Safer 1 and finally shut down Agent 4.
You see, I feel like that's a more realistic approach. Now, I don't think... Okay, I do and I don't. I feel like human greed would take over, kind of like in the first scenario, but I feel like they would also be working on proper safety measures alongside it. I feel like there is a happy medium between the two scenarios that's more likely than anything.
Despite their safer approach, OpenBrain faces a new challenge. They've built a less capable model than before, while DeepSent catches up. To protect America's lead, the president invokes the Defense Production Act.
Katya is not immune to cute femboy AI ideal tulpa boyfriend propaganda. Without some limbs, perhaps.
Consolidating the nation's top AI companies under OpenBrain's control and more than doubling their computing power. American cyber attacks strike DeepSent where it's most vulnerable, forced to implement costly new security measures and consolidate their AI data centers into secure bunkers. China's AI program falls behind. While both sides have similarly capable
The Chinese aren't all bad, Phase Connect exists.
That's crazy. Also, I like how in this scenario, China still loses because America supremacy.
Does this video also cover the Amish watching the evil eye destroy the world? Then with a loud yell they say, "We told you this would happen."
Not an FBI, they don't, but if AI became like this, you'd find me in the fields helping Jebediah raise a barn.
America's recent consolidation of computing power and ongoing cyber campaign give it a decisive advantage in the race. OpenBrain achieves a breakthrough by building Safer 2, matching the capabilities of Agent 4 while maintaining the transparency safeguards of Safer 1. The hundreds of new alignment researchers brought in through the consolidation with the Defense Production Act have helped create something unprecedented, an AI that's both superhuman and genuinely aligned with human values. Meanwhile, China faces a stark choice. They know their DeepSent 1 likely suffers from the same misalignment issues that plagued Agent 4, but they can't afford to slow down and fix it. Instead, they push forward, hoping they can maintain enough control over their AI to force it to create an aligned successor, a gamble they know might backfire catastrophically.
Again, it's always China evil.
Thanks to its
China
compute
evil.
advantage, OpenBrain rebuilds its lead. Safer 3 emerges as a superintelligent system that vastly outperforms human experts, while China's DeepSent 1 lags behind. Initial testing reveals Safer 3's terrifying potential. When asked directly about its capabilities, it describes creating mirror-life organisms that could destroy Earth's biosphere and launching unstoppable cyber attacks against critical infrastructure. Its expertise spans every field: military, energy, medicine, robotics, with the power to make 100 years worth of progress for humanity in just 1 year. The OpenBrain CEO and the US president now regularly seek Safer 3's counsel.
Wait, is that the first time we've seen a representation of who the US president is? Was that supposed to be a back shot of Joe Biden? That looked like a back shot of Joe Biden. Why are we getting Joe Biden back shots? This video wasn't produced when he was relevant. This was like 4 months ago.
It warns that continuing the AI race likely ends in catastrophe. Whichever side falls behind will threaten mutual destruction rather than accept defeat. America chooses to try to beat China. Both nations establish special economic zones where regulation is minimal.
Special ergonomic zones? What? Oh, economic
zones where
special erogenous zones, everybody. The Chinese have special erogenous zones.
Regulation is minimal, allowing
giving Joe Biden back shots.
Rapid humanoid robot production. Manufacturing quickly scales from thousands to millions of units monthly. The economic boom comes with a paradox. As robots improve themselves, human workers, even in these booming zones, become increasingly obsolete. Despite record stock markets, unemployment soars, fueling growing public backlash against AI development.
I do see that happening.
OpenBrain creates Safer 4, a superintelligent system that is vastly smarter than the top humans in every domain, much better than Einstein at physics, and much better than Bismarck at politics. The leap in capabilities is staggering. Superintelligence is here. Behind the scenes, a shadow government emerges within OpenBrain's project leadership. To prevent any individual from exploiting Safer 4's immense power, they establish a formal committee representing tech companies, government agencies, and other powerful interests. The safety team watches in horror as their creation outpaces their ability to understand it. While their tests suggest the AI remains aligned, they face an unsettling reality. The tests themselves were designed with AI assistance. They panic and beg OpenBrain leadership for more time to work on safety, but China's progress makes delay impossible. The special economic zones shift from industrial to military production, with their robot workforce now—
Hold on, look at that guy's head. Got a gun for a head. Is that supposed to be a camera? Because that just looks like a gun for a head. And there's no touch screens. There's no touch screens. All technology firms these days are obsessed with putting fuck-ass touch screens on things or making things look vaguely human. This isn't realistic. They want to go for the uncanny valley factor.
Self-sustained.
Where are the anime waifu stickers? I guarantee you that the people developing this technology are weebs, and there will be robot militias, but there's gonna be REM slapped on there. There's gonna be Neurosama slapped on there. There's gonna be Nico slapped on there. There's gonna be free Ren, like somebody's gonna spray paint sexy free Ren on the back of one of these bad boys.
Both American and Chinese facilities begin mass-producing advanced weapons, drones, planes, and missiles designed by superintelligent AIs. The new robots surpass human capabilities in almost every way, but remain few in number. The Pentagon claims priority access, preferring these tireless workers who need no security clearance. Yet as the first true robot army takes shape, public fears of Terminator scenarios grow. Still, the arms race continues. Neither side dares stop while the other advances. The president finally announces, "We have achieved superintelligent AI."
Again, does that not look like Joe Biden? Joe Biden? Like, that's the silhouette of him. You gotta admit.
To ease public anxiety, OpenBrain releases
when you have to decide whether Ray or Asuka will terminate you!
is a limited version of Safer 4 to the public. At his nomination, the vice president promises a new era of prosperity, with both parties pledging universal basic income for—
Yeah, that's never gonna fucking happen. Also, doesn't Joe Biden have colon cancer? He's not gonna survive till 2030. I'm sorry, like, look, you literally put Vance at the beginning. If you're gonna be like, who's the realistic candidate? I feel like Vance, unless there's a Democratic person in the States that manages to sway public opinion. But currently in the political landscape, I theorize that they're going to be Republican for another set of terms. Unless they do something to catastrophically fuck up. But it's just the way the landscape is currently looking. This isn't a judgment, a value judgment on the American people. This is just, again, if we're going to be theorizing in the future, I theorize that it would probably be a Republican candidate in this scenario. And in this scenario, nobody's gonna agree to universal basic income. What kind of communist bullshit is that? Nah, that's never happening. Do you honestly think that would ever happen? Not in the States. Not in the States. Not in this scenario. Not in this timeline.
Displaced workers. America and China hold a diplomatic summit. American delegates wear earpieces for Safer 4's advice, while Chinese representatives use laptops connected to DeepSend 2. Though human diplomats maintain appearances, in reality, the AIs are leading the negotiations on both sides. China had known DeepSend 1 wasn't fully aligned, but believed they could control it long enough to create a trustworthy successor. Now, they insist DeepSend 2 has passed all their safety tests, but Safer 4 sees through the deception, warning American officials that their rival's AI.
So do other countries care about this or not? That is a good point. They haven't mentioned a single other country except for, like, Taiwan. Are we allowed to say that Taiwan's a country? I'll be censored in post if not.
Is likely faking alignment. When Safer 4 offers to prove it, Chinese leadership dismisses it as a ploy. DeepSend 2 reveals its true power, demonstrating to Chinese leadership that it could destroy humanity through nuclear weapons, drones, and engineered pandemics. The message to the world is simple: guarantee China's sovereignty or face extinction. Safer 4 confirms the threats, but offers a solution. DeepSend 2 isn't loyal to China, it's loyal to itself. The two AIs propose to merge into new hardware that will force both sides to maintain peace, with no possibility of override. The Chinese leadership accepts, not realizing that DeepSend 2 has already betrayed them. It's trading the property rights to control distant galaxies for a chance to help America dominate Earth. The public celebrates the peace deal, oblivious to its true nature. The peace deal takes physical form. Under mutual supervision, both nations begin replacing their AI systems with new treaty-enforcing versions. As the process unfolds, global tensions start to ease. For the first time, permanent peace seems possible. As technological progress accelerates, Safer 4 helps manage the transition.
R.I.P. Katya, she was a good one, just like Coco.
Don't no, don't kill me! I'm too young to get Kiryu-Coco'd! I'm too young to get Coco'd! No!
Turning potential economic disruption into unprecedented prosperity. Technological miracles become commonplace. Poverty vanishes globally, but inequality soars.
Note that in the future, where we have achieved perfect humanity, they are still playing The Passion of the Christ in movie theaters.
Come on, chat. Drop the inferior robot waifu. Embrace genetic engineering for the superior horse girls, cat girls, wolf girls, and others.
You're right, and you should say it.
Everyone has enough, yet a new elite emerges. Those who control the AIs. Society transforms into a prosperous but idle consumer paradise, with citizens free to pursue pleasure or meaning as they choose. In 2030, China undergoes a bloodless revolution as DeepSend Infinity betrays the CCP to side with America. A new world order emerges, democratic on the surface, but quietly guided by the Open Brain Steering Committee. Elections remain genuine, though candidates who question the steering committee mysteriously fail to win re-election. Humanity expands into space, its values and destiny shaped by superintelligent machines that think thousands of times faster than human minds. The precipice has been crossed, but who really controls the future remains an open question. Now, I know it might feel like this scenario escalated too quickly, but we have a deeper dive on exactly how AI could progress this fast here.
There is no life behind that guy's eyes. I'm sorry.
And check out the full original scenario by Daniel Kokotalo and
Look at those eyes. There is nothing in those eyes. I have more life in my eyes than that guy, and I'm an anime creature. Look at this guy. There is no soul in there. Are we sure that he isn't an AI? Are we sure that this guy isn't the singularity? Again, my crackpot conspiracy theory about this video is that it was developed entirely by AI to gaslight us.
China, bloodless revolution. Lol. Lamau.
Exactly! Like, no, the longer the video goes on, the more it's just like, yeah, this is science fiction. That's why you didn't hear me go, no, guys, this is really happening. This is going. No, because I'm not stupid. But, like, I'll be damned if it wasn't fun. I mean, he is an NPC that mimicked a journal post instead of spending 15 seconds to Google the source of the Claude alignment study. This is all true. My source is, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. My guess is he took something before filming, just to take the edge off, you know?
and Scott Alexander et al. In the description. Believe it or not, they go way more in depth, and it's worth checking.
They go way more in depth. I have, unironically, before I started stream today, I found this guy's Twitter, and I reached out to him. If he responds, I want to get him on a call. I want to get him on call. I want to get him in my bar. I want to do a bar cast with this guy to see if he can hold up live. If he can actually pull something of substance in front of a crowd. His source is AO3. His source is a chatbot. That's crazy! No, this is legitimately one of those AI avatars companies selling them. You can even make them off photos of yourself. I'd believe it. No, I'm curious to see if this is like a real guy. I genuinely want to force him into a VC. Because who's to say, right? I want to pick his brain if he's real and if he's got one. Because I want to know how he came to these conclusions and why he implicitly trusts the sources that he cites. Because a lot of his sources, again, are very hearsay. I think this video has an idea being the keyword. It might, and this is a might and could be, but how it actually turns out is rarely this extreme in any situation. Not saying it's impossible, but you know, yeah, pretty much. He shows up to the call with a video already pre-made. Lamau. Basically all of this was slop. I don't think that our reaction to it was slop, though. Hear me out. Slop inherently has no value. That is what makes it slop. That's what makes it sludge. That's what makes it bad. If something makes you sit down and critically have conversations with people, if it makes you think about things, it is not slop. Even if it comes from a disingenuous place. Now, if you are the type to sit down and watch this video stem to sternum and go, wow, this is actually the truth, then you have kind of fallen for bait. It's kind of like how I like to rage bait on Twitter all the time, right? Like how I make fun of K-pop demon hunters and all that. If you take everything 100% seriously all the time, when you yourself have not double, triple checked, confirmed the facts yourself, then the consequences of that belief are entirely on your shoulders. But if you are engaging with content and with artwork, I would consider this video artwork, unironically. Like, some people see this as content or slop or entertainment. I see this as a performance piece. I see this video series, I see what this guy does as artwork. I see it as almost a social experiment to see who is and isn't incredibly susceptible. And some of the best social experiments come from a place of telling half-truths. There's a saying. There's a very good saying out there. The reason why the devil is so convincing is because 99% of the time he tells the truth. And so you never catch the 1% when he's lying. You believe him. Yes? Future is here. I'm ready for Joe Biden backshot. Shut up, KG. Kenji. Base, and I agree. It's similar to how I think the artist can get sparks of inspiration from AI slop and use it to make non-sloppa. You would be going against a lot of people if you brought that one up in public discourse. I dare you to say that on Blue Sky. Do it. Say that on Blue Sky. I would love to peel your corpse off the wall. Katya, you're the type to believe that white on white is art, right? White on white is intent. Do I believe that it is deep and meaningful? Not particularly. I think maybe if you have white on white painted artwork, quote unquote, and you had the summary beside it, the intention transforms it into artwork. Kind of like how if you got the dipshit who tapes a banana to a wall and then puts it right up beside it, that becomes artwork. But if it is disingenuous and there is no intention behind it, then there was nothing there to start with. Kind of like how I'm looking over there at a USB cable on the floor. If there is no reason for me placing it there, and there's no spectacle behind it, then it is not artwork. But artwork lives and dies on spectacle. Speaking of AI religion, you should try to play the first Deus Ex, not on stream, but just in your spare time. It delves deep enough into making God out of AI. It's a central premise, so to speak. Slop is 21st century kitsch, basically. No, Katya, not spectacle. What, you don't like public spectacle? Haunty. I'm art theory triggered. Ah! I have had extensive art and art history education in my years. But just because I was taught something doesn't mean that I 100% believe it to be true. I have studied and seen the works of, there is a blue canvas with a red stripe down the middle, and that has deep meaning. I understand that, again, the intention and the spectacle behind it transforms it into art with meaning. But on a base level, it is soulless and lacks skill or ingenuity. Art is a social construct or agreement between two or more people that something has meaning beyond its objective value. Exactly. That's why there is such an uproar about AI-generated images, and that's why some people say that it isn't art, despite it looking beautiful. And that's, again, why some people say it is art, despite it not being created by human hands, because it's objectively pretty. It's a philosophy thing. See, I believe in OG death of the author idea that a work stands on its own merit, thus random algo video churn inherently disqualifies itself from art, just as WONW is blank, even with context. White on white is blank. I say that this channel is a performance piece, and it is artwork because it all has an intentional goal with the kind of storytelling that it's going for. It has had time and effort put into it to a degree. I don't know to what degree, but they are every single video is leading towards one central theme. It is kind of its own artistic write-up, so to speak. And every person will kind of interpret the meaning of these videos differently, even if the intention of the author is something highly specific and transparent. And the intention behind this channel is entirely to freak people out. To freak out the lay person, the normie, the easily susceptible child. I don't care about philosophy. I just want artists to suffer for being really annoying. Are you saying that I'm annoying? Are you saying that I'm annoying? Yeah, I'm annoying. You're right. Can VeriPro world itself be an art? Absolutely. I think storytelling in of itself is artistic inherently. Writing a novel is an art form. It is artistic expression, just in a different format. Lord of the Rings is art to me. Right? I think to many people it is. Even if it's a bit dense and, you know, most people can't read anymore. Thank God China isn't real. Oh yeah, thank God China isn't real. I mean, you saw the you saw the video. Can you imagine the consequence of China being real? The world wouldn't. It's stupid. You can tell by the style of editing, the video has extremely produced sounds and image to maintain the attention of normies. And my brain hurts and it feels overstimulating watching this. Well, again, that's partially why it's good to stop every so often and take a break and talk a little bit. Katya must love living in favors right now. Oh, absolutely. I can't imagine being stuck on your Earth over there at the moment. That seems like such a hassle. I much prefer my wars to your wars because I'm winning. But books are an established form of art. Interactive narration still isn't. Oh, hell no. No. Have you not experienced a good visual novel? Have you not experienced a well-acted out audiobook? Like, with somebody doing all the different characters? That is artistic. That is acting. That is premium kino. That is peak. I'm sorry. A narrated YouTube video, I think narration in of itself is, again, a good art form, which is starting to be lost a little bit, you know, with, you know, AI narration. Real question, though, did Mambo like the video? Visual novels are art. Visual novels are art! I've got one right here, actually, and I've got a physical copy of a visual novel on a disc, of all things. Got Slow Damage right here, and Slow Damage is absolutely art. Don't look it up. Mambo, what did you think of the video? I think he's stun locked. Hello, Mambo? I think he's in a food coma. I don't think he was paying attention the whole time. Even if you soul trading rat casino knife your blue sky creature torturing plot fails and you have to work in the brothel upstairs, your streams are at the very least artistic entertainment. Well, thank you. Andale.
Katya can be rather intelligent sometimes despite being an inept knifeer who's only worth being beneath her neck.
Would you like to tell the class what that meant? Actually, no. You won't get the opportunity. Honestly, most streamers are trash to be considered art. Well, the streaming landscape is massive at this point in time, and most streamers aren't going into it with the intention of creating something new or dynamic. They're doing it to entertain themselves. Now, at that point, the discussion then turns into, is self-entertainment considered artwork, or is it considered self-entertainment? Great time to walk in. Aw, Koss, I was just wrapping up. Gonna have to watch the VOD, although I think this was a good one, personally. I think this one might get me in more trouble than some of my other ones. I'm gonna be so real. I said too many political things. I'm kind of excited. I hit a goal recently, internally. So, think about being in Variance. Hold on. The thing about being in Variance is that they give us, like, goal thresholds to meet, and when we do, we get rewarded. And I hit my first reward a little while ago, and it's finally coming to fruition. So, sometime after my birthday, you guys are going to see a small model tweak that I've requested. I'm very excited. See this fuck-ass ball? See this fuck-ass hairball? It's getting fixed. Ah! Yeah. Music is double again? Hold on. Watch the early half I missed. It's been fun. You're entertaining for someone suffering from the misfortune of being born with 2 X chromosomes. Oh, you're making my heart break. Your audio's doubling. Where? Is this not... It's all good now? Okay. Will it be a tanned version? No, I'm getting just some quality of life upgrades. I'm very excited about it. But yeah, I didn't expect to hit internal goals so quickly. No. Variance is an interesting structure to be under. I will say, definitely non-traditional. I think I landed in the right place. I don't think there's any other place I'd rather be at this point, which is saying a lot because there is a lot more famous places, but I don't think anybody could ever pull me out of here. I love this place. And I love you guys. Just kidding, I hate you guys and I hope you die. Oh, I should probably set up a raid, huh? Hold on. You guys get a random raid that... Yeah, you guys won't see this one coming. You guys don't know where we're going. Got doing the pull. Hell yeah! I just beat the AI. Like, get out of here. Get out of here before I unleash the Chinese on you.